you able to see the PPT? I have shared the PPT now. Please, someone reflect.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, in the last class we discussed up to this. I mean, stress strain diagram for ductile metal. We discussed up to this. Just recap. I mean, this elastic up. I mean that point A up to point A is a proportional limit. Just to recap with 2 minutes. Then we go for the further discussion. Up to a proportional limit. I mean, this region only we are considering for the finding the Young's modulus of the material, and even the point. I mean, up to A, we can say the elastic limit. So even that proportional limit is little below. I mean, originally we discussed in the last class. See in this figure, you can get it up to A. This is the proportional limit. But this is the elastic limit up to point B. But even we can consider up to point B finding the Young's modulus of the material. Okay, and under that region, under this region of the curve is called modulus of resilience. I mean, this is the especially we are using this modulus of resilience material properties is in while designing the spring. The spring material is very important property, modulus of resilience. Okay, then this is a elastic region, and that the next one is the yielding region. Then this is the strain hardening region. This is a strain hardening region. Now this is the necking region, and this but broadly we can classify it. I mean, elastic behavior, temporary deformation. I mean, up to this with this one. I mean, this is the plastic behavior, permanent deformation. We discussed. So these are the information required when we are going to choose the material properties. I mean, so when we are going to choose the material, different material for our application, for our designing our components. Okay. Now I come to this. What are these material properties? Strength. I mean, you might have been studied earlier, but just briefly we will discuss and we move forward. Okay. I mean, the mechanical properties of metals, those which are associated with the ability of the material to resist the mechanical force and load. Okay, very brief manner we discuss, and we go for the next discussion. Okay, I mean, what is the strength? It is the ability of the material to resist the externally applied force without breaking of the material, right? I mean, this is nothing but now based on the strength we are able to define this stress, right? Stress is nothing but the internal resistance offered by the part or component while the part is subjected to externally applied load. That is called stress. Okay, and what is the stiffness? Stiffness is the ability of the material to resist the deformation under the applied stress or applied load. Resist the deformation. I mean, this stiffness property we are considering to find out the Young's modulus of the material. Okay, to measure the considering the finding the Young's modulus of the material. Okay, and elasticity. Elasticity is the temporary deformation. So while apply the load, the material gets deformed. While remove the load, the material come to original shape and original dimension. Okay, that is elasticity. I mean, this property is very essential for materials used in tools and machines. This elasticity, but most of the components, most of the components we are designing under the material in elastic limit. It should not be plastic limit, but plasticity is the material which retains the deformation, but when you remove the load, the material it will not come back to original shape. That is a plasticity. But I mean, this kind of behavior where we are considering, while saving the material using different operations like forging, stamping, and ornamental works, we are using those work in the process. We are considering the plasticity behavior because our requirement is to modify the shape of this component design, to modify the geometry. Then we have to do plastic deformation. Okay, the plastic behavior we are always considering during manufacturing process. It's not we are not considering during operation. While manufacturing the process, we are considering this plasticity behavior. Ductility, you know, right? This is a property of material enabling to drawn into wires. You might have studied wire drawing. With the help of the ductile behavior, the material can be easily wired. It will be drawn in the form of wire. Okay, and the wire, I mean, while deforming the form of wire, the tensile force is very important role while deforming, making into the form of wire. I mean, how we are measuring ductility with the help of the elastic, I mean, percentage of elongation and percentage of reduction area. Based on that, we are finding the ductile behavior of the material. Either the material is under ductility or not. Okay, I mean, ductile is mostly in the materials, mild steel, copper, aluminum. These are the under category of ductile behavior. Okay, now come to the brittleness. I mean, brittleness, when you apply the load, the material with a little deformation able to failure. I mean, able to breaking. So that is the brittleness. But you'll see this here. While brittle behavior, the material it will not go to plastic deformation. Once the material just crossed the elastic deformation, then immediately it will be broke. It will be failure. It will be breaking. Hence, the brittleness material, we are using some limited places, and where the cast iron body of engine, cast iron bed, cast iron material used for making machine bed. Okay, there tensile load is not acting. Only it's covered in the machine, and it will be observe the vibration. So based on the applications, based on the requirement, we have to use appropriate material. I mean, brittle material we are not using. I mean, even are we using any brittle material in the lathe machine for tool post? For example, tool post where we are holding the tool, that is not a brittle material. Because if you use the tool post as a brittle material, it will be possible to failure. Because in the tool post, we are connecting the tool, we are performing different kind of operation. I mean, step turning operation, champering operation, right? And facing operation, right? Threading operation. When we are performing different type of operation, that the tool post going to be subjected into different loading condition. Hence, suppose if I use, I mean, brittle material, the tool post may subjected to failure, because the various load is acting the tool post while performing different types of operation. Okay. And malleability is the special case of ductility, but which permits the materials to be rolled or hammered into thin sheets. Whenever we are going to perform, we are going to make thin sheets for our component, then that material should be easily malleable condition. Otherwise, we cannot make it our record safe of the component. See, for example, I mean, malleable material should be a plastic, but not essential to be so strong. It may be easily malleable, but we cannot expect more strong in this material. Okay, when we are performing the malleability of the material. The malleable materials commonly used in engineering parts like lead, sharp steel, and aluminum alloys. We are using copper. But where we are using, for example, car body. I mean, we are using aluminum alloys. The thin sheets. It won't be a more strength, but when we are performing this, when we are performing to make as a thin sheet, that time the material should be easily malleable. Okay. Toughness. I mean, now the toughness is the property of material resists to fracture due to high impact loads like hammer blows. When we apply the force through hammer. Okay. The toughness of the material decreases when it's heated. But how can I define the toughness? Area under the stress strain curve up to breaking of the material, up to failure. Up to failure is area under the stress strain curve up to failure is called the toughness. Okay. I mean, then what are the components? I mean, the parts should be subjected to shock and impact loads. I mean, the toughness behavior, toughness properties should be considered while designing the parts for the application of shock and impact loads. Okay. And machinability. I mean, when we are when we are designing the components, we are going to manufacture, right? During manufacturing, the component going to be subjected into different kind of machining operation to obtain the final shape. Then the material able to machinable easily. Okay, briefly we discuss and go ahead. And resilience. As I told you, resilience. I mean, resilience is nothing but the area under the curve, area under the stress strain curve up to elastic limit. That is resilience, modulus of resilience. This is very important property for especially in springs. I mean, springs, when you are using springs, while the shock or vibration, the spring absorbs the energy. Then, I mean, for a simple example, why you take the spring, apply the load, what will happen? The spring should be deflect, right? I mean, when you apply the load, the spring store the energy. When you release the load, the spring should come to original shape as well as simultaneously release the energy. Storing energy, releasing energy is very important property of this spring, right? Hence, the spring modulus of resilience is very important properties. Okay, and creep is you already know, right? When the part is subjected to constant stress at a high temperature. Constant stress at high temperature, it may be constant stress at 100 megapascal. Constant stress, I mean constant load at high temperature. Maybe the low temperature through 200 degrees Celsius or 250 degrees Celsius. For long period of time, when you apply the constant stress at a particular temperature, long period of time, the material behavior is totally different as compared to when the material is subjected to tensile load in room temperature. Okay. Now, in this creep, we can classify into primary creep, secondary creep, tertiary stage, primary stage, secondary stage, tertiary stage. And primary stage, the creep may not be a linear primary stage. Secondary stage, you might have seen, somewhat linear. See, this is, you might have seen, this is the primary creep, secondary creep, then third is tertiary creep. I mean, see here, up to this primary stage, this is secondary stage, this is primary stage, this is secondary stage, this is tertiary stage. Now, because why this important property? Why this is important? Because, for example, in IC engines, I mean, what temperature, the maximum what temperature is creating inside the cylinder while driving the vehicle, while performing the combustion process. Then the material which connecting rod and piston we are using inside the bore, we should study at a different load condition, different temperature. We should study that material components before going for the design. So creep is very important. I mean, thermal power plants components, creep is very important properties. Okay, they have to study before designing the new component. While designing the new component, they have to study for before manufacturing. So creep and fatigue. What do you mean by fatigue? Fatigue is subject to repeated stresses, compressive tensile, or else a fluctuating stress, you may say that. That is a fatigue behavior. But the fatigue files stresses below the yield point stress, right? I mean, even fatigue is nothing but a compressive tensile, for example. It's cyclic load acting on the component. Even cyclic load acting on the component, the component going to be failure. I mean, when the component subjected within the elastic limit, because the material going to be failure within the elastic limit also, because we are applying the cyclic load, compressive tensile, because of the crack propagation behavior. Take small wire. Take small wire, then hold on it, then straighten it, bend it, straighten it, bend it. This is the first straighten. So first cycle I am straightening, bending. While bending, that is, this portion is going to be a compressive load, compressive stress. This portion is going to be a tensile load. This is tensile, this is compressive. Right? You do multiple cycles. This cycle 1, then at the nth cycle, maybe after 100 cycle, the material going to be failure. right? Because of the crack propagation inside the material. Even we are applying the load within the elastic limit. That's what very important thing. Even if you are applying the load within the elastic limit, the material going to be a failure. That is called fatigue. That is called fatigue. I mean, this property designed considered for designing the shaft and connecting rods and gears. Now, the last one is hardness. See, hardness is very important property of the material, but this is a wide range of wide variety of meanings. But we consider resistance to wear, scratching, deformation, and scratching and resist the deformation and resist deformation and machinability. I mean, this is the ability of the metal to cut another metal. For example, if we have mild steel material, we would like to cut. We would like to perform the spacing operation. We would like to reduce the dimensions of the mild steel rod or bar with the help of the lathe machine. Then our tool is much harder than mild steel while performing the machining operations. Hence, the tool steel must be harder than our machined material. For example, mild steel we may go for HSS tool bit. Some hard material we can go for diamond tip for machining operation, for cutting operation, right? So wherever we are using cutting tools, that cutting tools must be there more hardness. The hardness property is very important while designing the cutting tool. Okay. Now I come to this ductile, brittle, and polymer. I mean, elastomer comparison. What is this? I mean, this is a stress strain curve for this. First one is for the first one is for brittle material. Brittle material, the strain is very less. Come to this ductile material, the strain is high as compared to brittle, but which one is more toughness? I mean, brittle material is more toughness because the area under the stress strain curve will based on the area under the stress strain curve, more toughness. But in elastomer, less toughness, but the strain rate is more. Now I'm asking you simple question: which material is more Young's modulus? Yes, someone tell that.
Brittle material, ceramics.
Yeah, brittle material. Yeah, correct. Thank you. Brittle material is high Young's modulus because stress by strain. Strain is less, but Young's modulus is high. But see here, the ductile material reaches ductile behavior after, elastic limit. After that, strain hardening effect is there. But in brittle material, it won't be the strain hardening effect. It's strain hardening effect because here the material once reached the elastic limit, after very little deformation, the metal going to be a failure. It won't go under strain hardening effect. Okay. So this is but if you consider elastomer up to this elastic behavior, but when you apply the load continuously, the material deforms. But here also, here also we can't say exactly strain hardening, but it's under plastic deformation. Continuous apply load, the plastic deformation is going to happen. Okay. Now this is the brittle fractures. Please understand this. Where sometimes if you go for any interview, this is a basic question. You should know the stress strain diagram. As a mechanical engineering, you should know the stress strain diagram for brittle material, ductile material, elastomer. These three very important. Okay, but a brittle fracture always subjected under the elastic energy limit. But the ductile fracture always the fracture is subjected into elastic as well as plastic energy. Okay. Similarly, elastomer. Now I come to this. Different plastic material. Now this is a curve. You should. How the curve is coming, we no need to understand. 1 minute. I close this. Yeah. See here. The curve, how did they tested in the tensile testing or compressor testing doesn't matter. But our aim is now we are understanding, because already the research work they had done, they did enough number of research, then they came to the behavior of the material like this, they came to and pointed out that. Now we are going to understanding only. Okay, when you take a brittle plastic, the material plastic is under brittle behavior, this is a stress strain behavior of the brittle plastic. This one. Now, which material, which plastic we are using, that is a tough and strong plastic, then that material behavior like this, the stress strain behavior like this. I mean, even nowadays, if you go for any, components, they mention, as I told you earlier, in the design data book and some of the international standard ISO standard books and Indian standard book. I already in the previous class we discussed. In that, they might have been mentioned this component belongs to this material. This component belongs to brittle plastic. This component belongs to tough and strong plastic, like that. Then you have to understand. Then you have that this information should come into your mind. Okay. So suppose the material, whatever the material mentioned, hard and tough plastic, immediately you should get this picture in your mind, this graph in your mind. Okay, this material behavior like this, hence our maximum utility safe limit is up to this only. You should understand like this. Because now hard and tough plastic, this is hard and tough plastic subjected into strain hardening as compared to brittle plastic, as compared to tough and strong plastic. This material is going to be subject into strain hardening effect. Okay, and this is elastomer, which plastic is, looks like functioning elastomer. This is the behavior, stress strain behavior. Now I go to another material. This is nothing but a PMMA. PMMA is nothing but, polymethyl methacrylate. Polymethyl methacrylate material. This also I have taken from some research paper. Here, see here, the material. This is PMA is one material, but based on temperature, the material behavior also changing here. See here, at 65 degrees Celsius, the material behaves. Up to 65 degrees Celsius, the material behaves like a brittle behavior. But when you take, more than 65 degrees Celsius, then after 65 degrees Celsius, the material behaves like ductile. See here, yeah. These are the ductile behavior. Yeah, this is the ductile behavior. Okay. After 75 degrees Celsius, when the material subjected into different application, but during that application, the material surrounded by temperature 65 degrees Celsius, then the material behaves brittle behavior. But when the component crossed 65 degrees Celsius during operation, during functioning, then the materials behaves like ductile behavior. This also should be considered while designing the component based on temperature. Okay, that's what this. Now I come to materials and their classification. Now see here, already we have some idea about some idea in that sense, what are the properties we should consider while selecting the material. Example, elastic limit, plastic limit, plasticity, and strain hardening, ultimate tensile strength, yield tensile strength, breaking point, right? And malleability. Those information is there in our mind to select the appropriate material. Now, see here, the knowledge of the material and the properties are very, great significance for designing for the design engineer while designing the machine components based on the operation and functioning or are functioning. See, these are the properties. Somewhat we know some of the properties, mechanical properties we know. You don't worry about metallurgy and metallurgy related properties, chemical composition. Those things also we are going to discuss in later. But at present we know the mechanical properties of material. Based on that we can choose the material, right? Now, and in addition to this, the design engineer must be familiar with the effect of this manufacturing process and heat treatment. When we are going for manufacturing process, for example, we should consider plasticity, we should consider machinability, we should consider malleability. Plasticity. If the plasticity behavior is nothing but plastic deformation, stainless steel and aluminum, copper, the plastic deformation is totally different. For stainless steel, you have to apply 100 kilonewton, for example. But in same dimension or identical size of the aluminum, you may not require, you may not apply 100 kilonewton for deform, for change in shape of the component. Hence, I mean, as per the manufacturing consideration, we should know what type of process we are going to perform based on the properties like malleability, like machinability, like plasticity, right? And castability. These are the things we should consider while considering the manufacturing process. But while considering the operational process, the component, what are the properties important? Elasticity and yield strength, ultimate strength. These are the things, for example, these are the things very important. Fatigue and grip, these are the things, these are the properties are very important while the components are in functioning, okay, in as functioning the practical application. Now, I will share you later the slides, materials, about more information, classification, material classifications. Okay, I will share you the later. This is already you might have been studied. Okay, the classification of engineering material very briefly we discuss here. Metals and their alloys we can classify such as iron, steel, copper, aluminum. We are using lot of cast irons. I mean, gray cast iron, white cast iron, malleable cast iron. These are very important cast iron groups. And steel, we are using a lot of steels. I mean, SS steel 304, SS steel 316, SS steel 308. Like that, grades we are defining based on the chemical composition. I mean, and we are using steel, copper. A lot of copper we are using for our application, right? Especially electrical people, they are using a lot of copper in the windings. And we are using aluminum alloys, especially we are using automobile vehicles. The outer body, this aluminum alloys are aluminum. Even our two-wheeler engine, the engine body is aluminum alloy. Okay, and I mean, we can broadly classify into, I mean, non-metals. Sorry, no, first non-metals. Non-metals: glass, rubber, plastic. For example, glass. In glass industries, they are using non-metals. Highly brittle material they are using. They are always handling with highly brittle materials like different types of glass, borosilicate glass, silicon, and soda lime glass, such a way that they are dealing. And rubber and plastic, another group, another non-metals. And the metals we can classify it as broadly non-ferrous and ferrous metals. Okay, in the ferrous metal category, I mean wrought iron, wrought iron, and steel. In non-ferrous metal, these are non-ferrous metal: aluminum, brass, zinc, etc. These are the under non-ferrous metal. Now come to this. I mean, now we are always using alloying elements. Alloying elements means nothing but more than one metals, more than one element will be added. Finally, it will be made as a one material, that is called alloying element. But now here in this table we can understand, while adding the chromium, more constituent, more percentage, then what is the property we are going to improve? What is the benefit we are going to obtain while adding the chromium more in the alloying element? See here. I mean, few things I will see, then remaining thing you study yourself. I mean, while adding the chromium, forms various carbides and of the chromium with a refined the grain structure, with refined the grain structure of the material, right? This is the due to I mean, adding the chromium. But what is the benefits we are going to get? Improve the hardness, improve the toughness, also increase the wear resistance while adding chromium, as chromium has more percentage in the alloying element. Increase the strength at elevated temperature. These are the benefits we are going to get it. Okay, now similarly I will look some few material. Now I come to vanadium. What we see here, while adding vanadium dissolved in ferrite and easy form the carbides in the material, hence it's used in small amounts. I mean, okay, we have to use the small amounts in vanadium. But what are the application? Strong deoxidation agent and promotes the fine grainer size. When strong deoxidation agent and promotes the fine grain size, it will be very good material for high temperature application. Okay, improve the strength. And what are the things going to be improved in the mechanical properties? Improve the strength, toughness, keep the hardness at high temperature. I mean, it all at high temperature it will be maintained high hardness. Okay, and the last one more thing we discuss, tungsten. I mean, as everyone knows that tungsten is very high melting point, around the 3250 or 3250 to 3450 degrees Celsius melting point of the tungsten. Then the tungsten is highly suitable for high temperature applications. We will know about that. Hence, while adding the tungsten as a composition, then what will happen? Maintain the hardness at high temperature, right? And widely used in tool steel because tungsten is hard material. Okay, produce a fine dense structure. Produce a fine dense structure in that sense that tungsten is a very high density material, around 10,900 kilogram per meter to something like that. We will see later. And this is the tungsten. While adding the tungsten, this is a similar effect we may obtain like a molybdenum. Okay, but here what is the benefits you are going to get? Another benefits: increase the both hardness, toughness. Increase the both hardness and toughness even at a high temperature also. While adding the tungsten, while you preferring the tungsten as the alloying element to make the new material. Okay, similarly, you go through these other materials, other metals, other elements, like when you are adding nickel, what are the benefits? And manganese, silicon, molybdenum, please read it yourself, because these are the components mostly we are playing in our mechanical components. These are the elements. Chromium, nickel, manganese, silicon, molybdenum, vanadium, tungsten. These are the elements we are mostly preferring for making the alloying element. Okay, so that's what some limited things I put it here. Just please go through that, you can understand. Now, BIE system for destination of steel. Now we have to, as a mechanical engineer, we are using a lot of steel. We are using a lot of aluminum materials, right? A lot of aluminum alloys. But what are the steel composition? The steel means alloying element. Steel is not a single element, it's alloying elements. So then how can I identify standard notation? How can I do the standard notation for different steels? You see here, before entering into the steels, what are the basics we are going to consider in these destinations of the steel? The large number of variety of steels used in machine components. Steels are designed in by group of letters or numbers indicating the following. Indicating any one of the following given three properties. What are the three properties? We are considering tensile strength while destination of steel. We are considering carbon content while destination of steels. We are also considering composition of alloying elements. In these three, any one we should consider for destination of our steel, which type of steel we are using for our component. Okay, first, how we have to do destination of steel now. It can be specified in two ways. For the symbol Fe, simple Fe is followed by the minimum tensile strength. If you are putting Fe, then that is that the destination steel is based on the tensile strength. Suppose if you put Fe capital E, then it is the destination of steel followed by the yield strength in terms of Newton per millimeter square. Okay. Now, for example, Fe360. Here, Fe360 mentions that this is mentioned that the tensile strength of the material 360 Newton per mm square of this steel. And when you consider this Fe E250 indicates that what is this? Yield strength. So yield strength 250 Newton per mm square. Okay. Now this is this way when we are considering tensile strength. Now we are going to consider plain carbon steel. Now we are going to consider this carbon content. Based on the carbon content, how we are going to designate the steel. Now we are going to follow some procedure. The first step, a figure indicating 100 times average percentage of the carbon atom, or average percentage of the carbon, and a letter indicator C. Okay, in the destination. And now listen here, you can understand clearly. Very easy. This is not difficult one. And the figure 10 times. The another step, the last step, we should follow the figure indicating 10 times the average percentage of manganese. Okay, now this is a standard. See here, now I'm considering 55C4. 55C4, 55 divided by 100. 55 divided by 100. 55 divided by 100 going to be 0.55 percentage of carbon. That's what we are saying here. 0.5 percentage of carbon. Okay. Now this is carbon. Notation letter carbon I followed here. I mean percentage of carbon. Yeah, notation letter is carbon C. Now 4. Here 4 is referring that manganese. Here 4 divided by 10. This is a 0.4%. Now I can tell that, I mean, if we simply I put this 55C4 is nothing but 0.55% carbon and 4% manganese. As engineer, we should understand this definition for while defining our material. Okay. Now, what is this material? Now 40C8. I mean, here I can give the range also. 0.35 to 0.45% carbon and 0.7 to 0.8% going to be a manganese, like that. But this average going to be a 0.4% carbon, this average going to be a 0.8% manganese. But as engineer, we should know this definition. Okay, 40C8 means that 0.4% carbon content and 0.8% manganese content. Okay. Now I come to another thing. I mean, definition of unalloyed free cutting steels. Unalloyed free cutting steels based on following quantities. See here also the figure indicating the 100 times first step. I mean, we'll see here. First step you see here. I take pointer now. This is 25. 25 divided by 100, 0.25% carbon. Now the second step indicating the figure indicating the 10 times of average percentage of carbon. Yeah, average percentage of manganese. Sorry, average percentage of manganese. Okay, and this is 12. 12 is nothing but this 12 divided by 10. We are following this 10. The second step, figure indicating the 10 times of the average percentage of manganese. 12 divided by 10. Then 1.2 percentage of manganese. Okay, then figure yes here the symbol whenever we are getting this. I mean, what is yes? Anyone tell that? Yes, SCTEPB. What is referring the element name?
Sulfur.
Yes, good. Thank you. SC?
Selenium.
Very nice. TE?
Tellurium.
Thank you, ma. Thank you. PB? Someone
Lead.
else? Lead. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Okay, the symbol yes, SCTE, PB. I mean, these four material only we are going to consider destination of our steel. Okay. But see here, depending upon the element present in which they makes the steel free cutting. This now the last step we should follow the figure indicating 100 times average percentage of the element that makes the steel free cutting. Now how it is? For now I am taking this destination now. Now this destination I am taking now. I take some other color. Yeah. This is now I have taken this destination. Okay. Now 25 divided by 100, 0.25% carbon, and this is a 12. 12 is 10, the second step. 12 divided by 10, 1.2% manganese. Okay. And yes is nothing but sulfur. Sulfur, this is third. I mean, we are considering this is a free cutting steel. These are the composition going to be used in free cutting steel. Then when we are mentioned, yes, this is the sulfur, but in the last step, what you have to do? Yes, 1,4, then 1,4 divided by 100, 0.14%. Then this is finally, we have to understand, we have to understood that, I mean, 0.25% carbon, 1.2% manganese, and 0.14% sulfur in the destination. Okay. Similarly, see here. I mean, here the 0.2% carbon and 1.2% manganese, okay, and the PB1 here 0.1% lead, 0.1% lead. But I have given you here for average. I mean, the range I have given 0.1% to 0.15%. Okay, this is another definition. Now we move to another one more things. I mean, when we are telling that alloying elements, when we are adding the alloying elements less than 10%, up to 10%, you should not go beyond 10%. Okay, so if up to 10%, when you are adding up to 10%, is the high alloy steels based on percentage of alloying element. Less than 10%, we are saying that alloying elements in that category we can easily differentiate low alloy steel, high alloy steel, like that. Depends upon the composition. But when you are going for alloying elements, maximum allowed composition is at 10%. Okay. Now here the destination of the steels consists of following quantities. Now earlier we used always the earlier two destinations we used here. I mean, for example, 50C carbon content we used in the destination. The next also we used in the carbon content used in the destination 20C 12PB1, but we used always carbon content. Now in this destination, now I'm not going to use carbon content as the destination in the destination. Based on other element, I'm going to use in the destination system. How to understand the destination for my material, for designing my material. That's what we are going to discuss now. The figure first indicating this 0.25 divided by 100, 0.25% carbon, 0.25% carbon, but the letter C is not used in the designation system. That's what I'm telling that. Don't think about we are not using carbon content. Okay. Now the second, the chemical symbols are alloying elements, each followed by the figure of its average percentage of content multiplied by the factor. I mean, here we are going to use some multiplication factor. I will show you and I explain you that also. The multiplying factor depends on the alloying element. Now this is the multiplying factor. So people gone through multiple research then came to this information. Okay. Now if I'm adding chromium and carbon, nickel, sorry, chromium, what is CO? I forgot. Please, someone help me. What is
Cobalt.
Cobalt? Yeah, thank you. Chromium, cobalt, nickel, manganese, silicon, and tungsten is W, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And these are the multiplying factor. Now one by one we'll see here. Now this is my material destination 25Cr 4 MO2. Now as I followed you that sorry, now I have followed this first 25 divided by 100, then it will be a 0.25% carbon, 0.25% carbon. Now the second letter mentioned that is Cr, not C here. Hence we should follow this table now. Cr 4%, they give Cr4 they are given. Then this 4 we now divided by 4. This 4 is now divided by 4 because they have given multiplying factor 4. Okay, then divided by 4. That is your composition of the chromium percentage. Now 1% chromium, only divided by 4. 1% chromium. Okay, now I come to this. Yeah, 1% chromium. Now manganese O2, MO2. Now MO2, where is the MO? Where it is available? Here. Then here, this is divided by 10. Directly divided by 10. Then 0.2% molybdenum. MO is nothing but molybdenum, 0.2% molybdenum divided by 10. So 25 divided by 100 followed by this step. Then Cr4 followed by this step. Sorry. Okay. Now MO2 followed by this step, third step. Now we can classify, we can easily understand the composition of the material. Okay, 0.25% carbon, 1% chromium, and 0.2% molybdenum. Similarly, see here this one. 0.4% carbon, nickel where is sitting in the table? Here. Ni8 they have given. Then divided by 2, divided by 4, 2% nickel. Cr, where it is Cr is sitting? Cr is sitting here in the table. Then Cr is 8 divided by 4, 2% chromium. Vanadium, where it is sitting? Vanadium is sitting here. Vanadium is sitting here. Then divided by 10. Then 0.2% vanadium. Such a way that we have to understand. Okay. while seeing the composition, because in the design data book, some of the machine components material they mentioned, they are identified, they are given like this. They are given like this. We have to understand that. Okay, I mean these are the compositions. I mean carbon maximum the range 0.1 to 0.18%, silicon 0.15 to 0.35%. So and the manganese, chromium. These are the things. This is the range we are using most of the material, most of the alloying elements. But we already have seen that. Well, if I add the carbon, what is the use? If I add the silicon, what is used? In the earlier table, we have seen that application. Please go through that table. You can get it. The what is the improvement going to be achieved while adding this element? Those things we can get it from the earlier table, which already discussed. Now we come to the plain carbon steel. You know, right? Already you may know that. That's what I prepared very brief manner. Low carbon steel. Low carbon steel. When the less than carbon steel, low carbon steel contains less than 3%, less than 0.3% carbon. I mean, this is a mild steel. We can say mild steel is a low carbon steel. But I mean, easily machinable this steel. Now, medium carbon steel, this is a carbon content. Carbon is the 0.3 to 0.5%. Okay, this is a medium carbon steel, especially for machinery steel. That medium carbon steel is easily hardened and heat treatment. Okay, and medium carbon steels are stronger and tougher compared to the low carbon steel. Now, high carbon steel, I mean more than 0.5% carbon. This is very important. More than 0.5% carbon, high carbon steel, but it's like hard steels and tool steel. I mean, what are the tool steels? Tools we are using in the lathe machine for cutting operation, or I mean facing operation and chambering operation. It should be a high carbon steel. High carbon steel, the carbon content will be more, then we can achieve the more hardness. Okay, the high carbon steel. And this is very simple. Please go through that. Now we are going to discuss about material properties. Now earlier we discussed about material, mechanical property of material. Then we came to know that we came to discuss about how to designate my material based on the elements. Okay. Now we are going to see the properties. Once we designated the material, then how the material properties, the mechanical properties are improved. I mean, the materials property we can classify in three ways. Majorly, we can classify in three ways. One is with respect to physical properties, with respect to chemical properties, with respect to mechanical properties. The material properties we can classify it in different ways. It's like a physical properties, it's based on chemical properties, based on the mechanical properties. Now we are going to look physical properties and mechanical properties of the different material. Okay, now first table, see here. I kindly request you, as a mechanical engineer, you should know some of the material to be a very crystal clear information. At least density of the aluminum you should know. As a mechanical, you should know brass, bronze, cast iron, copper. Very important. Keep in mind. Steel. As a mechanical engineer, you should know these properties. I mean, density is 2,700 kg per meter cube. The melting point 6,660 degrees Celsius. Then thermal conductivity is 220 watt per meter degree Celsius. And coefficient of thermal expansion 23 watt micrometer per meter length per degree Celsius. Per meter length of displacement per degree Celsius. That's what. Okay. Because aluminum is ductile behavior, hence more coefficient of thermal expansion. Now come to brass. Brass, the density you know, and the melting point 950 degrees Celsius, and this is a thermal conductivity 130, and this is the thermal coefficient of linear thermal expansion of the brass. Now I come to the cast iron. Cast iron density is 7,250 kilogram per meter cube. Melting point 1,250 to 1,350 degrees Celsius, and thermal conductivity this, and this is the coefficient of thermal expansion. Okay. Now I consider steel. Steel is very, very important for mechanical engineering students. Now steel is the density is 7,850 kilogram per meter cube. The melting point is 1,400 to 1,500 degrees Celsius, and the thermal coefficient, thermal conductivity is 50.2, but the coefficient of thermal expansion is 11.1. Now the last one, you see the tungsten. Tungsten is, sorry, earlier I told 10,900 kilogram per meter cube. Sorry, the tungsten density is 19,300 kilogram per meter cube. See the melting point, 3,410 degrees Celsius. Now the coefficient of thermal expansion is very less, because I mean, if you see, the aluminum is coefficient of thermal expansion is very high as compared to tungsten. But why we are using aluminum? Why we are using aluminum alloys in the ICE engine instead of using tungsten? Anyone tell that a reason? See, coefficient of thermal expansion is very high, aluminum. Anyway, if we are adding alloying elements, we may reduce it, right? But we can increase the melting temperature also when you are adding elements. But if you consider tungsten, the coefficient of thermal expansion is 4.5. Why can't you use? Why we are not using? Why we are not preferring tungsten as a inside piston component? Anyone tell that? Please just think about that. Tell that.
Because of weight constraint.
Yeah, exactly. We have to consider the weight also, right? The weight ratio is aluminum is less. Even 3,400 degrees melting point doesn't matter. But inside our engine, we are not going to reach 3,000 degrees Celsius. So hence why I should go for that material. Hence, I can prefer the low weight and appropriate temperature material. It's enough for fulfill my application. Okay. Now tungsten we can use for, I mean, people are using tungsten element, tungsten heating element, molybdenum heating element, because this heating they are using as a heating element. Because when you are going for heating element, for example, furnace, melter, they are using as a heating element. Even that heating element reaching 3,000 degrees Celsius or 2,000 degrees Celsius, it won't be changes in the thermal behavior. That's what we are based on application. We should clearly understand the material behavior. I mean, we should clearly understand the material behavior for selecting the appropriate materials. Now, I come to another thing. See here, FG. I mean, mechanical properties. Whatever we are discussing now, this is a physical properties. Now I come to the mechanical properties. Mechanical properties. See FG 150. As I told you that we discussed in the earlier class, the SG, about FG. FG is, I mean, standards for materials, their chemical compositions, mechanical properties, and heat treatment. For example, Indian standard IS 210 report document specifies that 7 grades of gray cast iron designated such a way that FG 150, FG 200, FG 220, FG 260. Based on ISO 210 document, we are considering here FG 150 means 150 Newton per mm square tensile strength. Okay, when you are considering FG, when we are going for data book FG 400 dimension, that is high tensile strength 400 Newton per mm square. Okay, for white hot malleable cast iron WM, the first letter WM, I mean WM 400 means Newton per mm square. Similarly, PM, pure light malleable cast iron, pure light malleable cast iron PM 700, then 700 Newton per mm square, that the tensile strength of the material. Okay, now the last one more example, spheroidal graphite cast iron. For example, SG500/7 is specifying that maximum tensile strength is 500 Newton per mm square. Okay, they side by side they have given hardness also. Side by side they have given hardness also. Okay. Now I come to the another properties. Now mechanical properties of plain carbon steel. Now you tell me that now what is the 30C8? 30C8 we already discussed. 30C8, someone please reflect.
0.3% carbon and 0.8% manganese.
Yeah, thank you very much. So here that the tensile strength is 500 Newton per mm square. I mean yield strength is 400 Newton per mm square. Now hardness is 179. See here one more thing. Now most of the table they have mentioned the tensile strength. Is it a tensile strength or a ultimate tensile strength? 500. Is it tensile strength or ultimate tensile strength?
Minimum tensile strength.
Yes. Okay. Now see here, and elongation is 21. See one more thing here, when we are adding composition of carbon, see here, I mean 0.7%, 0.07%, 0.1%, 0.3%, 0.65%. What will happen? The elongation is getting reduced. The elongation is getting reduced when you are adding more carbon content, because when you are adding carbon content, the materials behaves like that or brittle, right? See, at 7.07% carbon, the elongation is to 27% of the length, 27%. But when you are adding carbon 0.65%, I mean as compared to 0.07, when you are adding 0.65% carbon, then the elongation is drastically reduced from 27 to 10% here. Okay. Now the another thing, the mechanical properties of free cutting tool. I mean, someone reflect this. What is this? A 10C8S10. 10 is
0.1% of carbon.
Yes.
0.8% of sulfur.
Yes.
And 0.1% of manganese.
You are little wrong. 0.8%. 0.8% is manganese. Okay. The 1% is sulfur. Okay. Are you understanding? Go
Yes,
back.
sir.
Earlier we discussed a table. If you have any doubt, that's what I have taken briefly the clear information for your understanding. See here this table. Yeah, this table. For example, this one. Pre-cutting tool, average 0.2% carbon, then 1.2% manganese, then PB is lead, 0.1% lead. Okay. Now, yeah, please 1 minute. Sorry, pa. Yeah. Now, I highlighted here 460 and here 500. Suppose if I want to select the material, I mean based on tensile strength, but the material should not go for more elongation, then I can see here these two material 30C8, 10C8, S10. Then I can choose this material. I mean, what I'm saying here, these two material, based on my application, the material should not go more elongation. Hence, I can go for this material. Even this is the 10% carbon. The two things I would like to avoid adding the carbon, because when you are adding, I would like to adding the carbon, right? When you are adding the carbon at a high temperature applications, it may be a more oxidation, right? I would like to avoid adding the carbon. First thing. Second thing, I would like to get less elongation, but I would like to manage tensile strength 450 to 500 Newton per mm square. Then which material will be suitable? I can go for this material, because here the tensile strength, whatever our reference tensile strength is same, almost 460, similar, near to this material. But see the elongation, percentage of elongation, here 21%, here 10%. So based on our application, based on our requirement, we have to choose the material material composition. Now the last table, yeah, one more table is there. See here, I mean, what is the tensile? I mean, this is the mechanical properties of alloy steel. Now we are entered into the alloy steel, right? Now 37C15. What is 37? Yeah, please someone reflect.
Sir, 0.37% of carbon.
Yeah, 0.37% carbon and 1.5%
Manganese.
manganese. Yeah. See, this is a tensile strength we should follow. This is a percentage of proofs. We already discussed the stress strain diagram. And this is elongation. Okay. This is the hardness and which condition we able to use this. Oil hardened and under tempered conditions. Now, one more example we will see that, then we go to next thing. What is this 40 CR? Anyone reflect this?
0.4% of carbon,
Yes.
chromium point divided by 4.
Yeah, approximately you can tell.
Sir, we don't remember like what was the factor.
Exactly. I mean, this is 3% of chromium. I mean, chromium 13 here given divided by 4. Approximately 3% of chromium, right? And
1% of molybdenum.
yeah, 1% of molybdenum. Vanadium also
0.2% vanadium.
0.2%.
Vanadium 0.2%.
Yeah, when we are adding this, adding these align elements in this ratio, then finally our material going to be these properties. Tensile strength we able to obtain this 1340 Newton per mm square, and this is a process what we discussed with respect to our stress strain diagram. Now this elongation going to be less. Okay, these are the things. Based on that we have to understand. Okay, this is the last one. I mean 40%. Sorry, this is the 0.4% carbon. Nickel is then nickel I think 2.5% based on table. I also forgot the table. Just I go back the table. Yeah, 2.5% nickel. 2.5% nickel. Chromium is maybe 0.75%, and molybdenum. This is molybdenum, right? Not molybdenum. Molybdenum is divided by 10.6%. Okay, so like that we have to understand. Now I come to the general properties. Whatever we discussed, aluminum and its alloys. Aluminum and tell me.
So we have another class.
Okay, but just one more slides only. I complete this. Next class we are going to start complete the first 15-20 minutes. We are going to complete this chapter and we are going to start second chapter. Please just give me. Okay, I stop it here because the time already 9:35. You are having class right tomorrow 9:30.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I stop it. Next class we will discuss first 15 to 20 minutes. We are going to complete this chapter. Then we are going to start next chapter. Okay. Yeah, sorry, already 9:35.
Sir, LMS is updated, sir. You can upload.
Yes,
you can
yes.
share video.
Yeah, sure. Today onwards, you are going to receive the video lecture immediately.
Okay, sir.